Sound speeds, and welcome back to Masked Mics. Before I go and unmask the two microphones that are masked before me, if you have not yet watched any of the Masked Mic series, you need to start at the very beginning with that playlist right there. Trust me on that and thank me later. You can't really watch these anywhere in the middle. You got to watch them sequentially. So start at the top. Let's go ahead and unmask these microphones, shall we? Starting with the M Audio Nova and the Neumann U87ai. Very similar looking microphones if you were to look at them in kind of a blurry vision, but that's about where the comparison ends. This microphone over here, for example, feels like a little bit of texture to it. This one feels more like shiny, cheap metal, but they are both pretty resilient if you were to kind of squeeze them hard. But the grills, for example, are quite different. They're tighter on the Neumann than they are on the M Audio Nova. They do have, like for example, the Neumann also is a multi-pattern microphone. On the front, there's a switch that switches between binaural, omnidirectional, and cardioid. But on the back, there's also a 10 dB pad and there's a roll-off. This microphone over here, the M Audio Nova, is just a single patterned cardioid microphone. And their specs are very, very similar with regards to the noise floor. But that's about it. The obvious thing to say right here is the M Audio Nova is a $100 microphone. When it was brand new, it's now been discontinued. You could find them for maybe $65 to about $85. I wouldn't spend more than that on them. But even new, when this was $100, you would have to spend 4 times that amount to just buy a replacement shock mount over here for this $3,200 Neumann microphone. Price difference is quite a bit different. Now, are you getting your money's worth? Depends on how you hear these two microphones. How do they sound to you? Their specs are quite a bit different when you look at things like sensitivity, THD, frequency response, self-noise, things like that. But what do you expect? $3,200 microphone and a $100 microphone. Hopefully this has been kind of a fun learning experience for you, because whether you want to spend $100 or $3,200, hopefully you're going to get your money's worth out of it. And I also need to say this. Thank you so much to my friend John Maskew for loaning me this Neumann U87ai. It's pretty awesome. And this M Audio Nova is mine. I can afford that one. So if you have a microphone you would like me to blindly compare to others, then send me an email at soundspeeds@yahoo.com and tell me about it. Let's have a talk. But for right now, there's 2 new microphones that we need to mask and bring to you for this episode. Why don't we get to it? Get your listening ears on, because we have 2 new masked mics in front of us. And before we go ahead with the comparison, why don't we do a noise floor test? To help you compare these 2 microphones, I thought I would tell you a fun story about how I used to exchange gag gifts with my friend Thomas. I did until I gave him this gift, and that ended it all. From the early 1990s, when I first met him in 91, until about 1997, we used to give each other gag gifts. I mean, funny things that really served no purpose and were a complete waste of money, let the truth be known. Usually having some sort of inside humor aspect to it and be absolutely, totally, in every possible way useless was, part of the fun. The more random, the better it was. But then one year for Christmas, I think it was around 97, it could have been 96, I gave him, for lack of anything better, I went around the house and I was like, well, you know what? Let me see what we have in the fridge that's about to expire. And I put it inside of a mason jar. What did I put? Ground beef that was about to expire. And I gave this to Thomas for Christmas, and he thought it was pretty funny. He took it back to his place, because at the time he was living in a city about 75 miles away, and he put it on the windowsill right next to his bed, which I thought was kind of funny considering that it caught about the first 4 hours of the morning sun as it came over the building next to his. So, sitting in the window, I would go to visit him about every half a month or so, about a month and a half or 2 months, I would go to visit him. And usually I would go visit my girlfriend out of town one weekend, and the next weekend I would work, and I would alternate back and forth. And usually if I worked on just a Saturday and not a Sunday also, I would go to visit him Saturday night after work. I would stay overnight, we'd goof off and whatever, and I'd stay out there for most of Sunday, and then I'd come home. Well, I went, it was about, the temperature started to get kind of hot. So it was around, 85, 90 degrees about May or so. And it started to get really hot. Now, to kind of explain real quickly, when I would go out to visit him and the bulging that would happen off of the top of the mason jar, I would try to relieve the pressure, but he wouldn't let me because he says it smells like death. So he was like, don't touch the jar, just let it sit there. I'm like, if you don't relieve it, it's going to like crack or something like that. Then you're going to be smelling it all the time. And he's like, no. I'm like, do the cats at least leave it alone? He's like, yeah. They ignore it. Pay it no mind. Just put it in the windowsill. It's going to be fine. Well, as we approached about May, I went out there, but I called to confirm on the Thursday before, because there was only certain days I could catch him because sometimes he'd pull a double shift at the two places he was working. He'd go to one place in the morning, then one place in the evening. And when I called to confirm him, he was like, yeah, come on out. Sounded a little awkward, but I was like, all right, well, you all right? He's like, yeah, just come on out. So after work on Saturday, I went out there, and it smelled really weird at his place. I didn't really understand why. Come to find out, he tells me that he came home from work, I think that Wednesday, the day before I confirmed with him. And he said that as soon as he got out of his car, he smelled death. It smelled like some rotten animal had died outside, and he thought somebody had just grabbed it and thrown it in the dumpster, so it was stinking up like crazy. He goes walking up the metal stairs that led up to the apartment that he was living in, and as he got closer and closer, it was getting nastier and nastier. As soon as he opened up the door, he said two things happened. The smell was overwhelming and gagging. Number two is the two cats that were inside laying on the ground went flying out the door, and they were both inside cats. And he didn't see him again for a couple of weeks when they slowly started coming around again. Now, he said that when he went inside the door, it hit him in the face, and he was like covering his face, completely gagging, could not breathe. He would try to hold his breath, run in there and clean up a little bit because of all the pressure that had built up on the inside of this ground beef. Apparently, it had exploded and sent ground beef all around the entire room. And because his bed was right next to that window, it sent glass shards and ground beef all in his bed. And he didn't have a spare set of sheets, and a lot of the sheets and everything got this like rancid ground beef smell on it and everything. And he had to basically wrap it all up and put it in the dumpster outside. He says it took about an hour and a half to clean up, and he kept gagging and trying to fight back, throwing up constantly through the entire time because he would have to run outside, take a breather, and then come back inside. That is the reason why we don't give each other gag gifts anymore. I guess I won. Anyway, hopefully this has been a long enough time for you to compare these two microphones. I want you to tell me in the comment section down below what you thought of both of these microphones. Rate them on a scale of 1 to 10. Tell me which one you liked better. Is microphone number 1 or microphone number 2 your favorite? Tell me in the comments below because I'm very interested in hearing your thoughts. In the meantime, thanks for tuning in to this episode of Masked Mics. Be sure to tune in the future because I'll be doing another comparison very soon. But until then, this will be my secret. Take care. Have a question you'd like answered or want to add something? Be sure to write it in the comment section down below. You can also make a suggestion for future topics of discussion. Again, comment section down below, or you can email me at soundspeeds@yahoo.com. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss out on future sound advice.